So, how do you find the value in your 9 to 5 job? How do you sit there and find the mentor that you need? For most time, it starts with the interview process. And a lot of times, I think this is something that we all forget because usually when we're going into a job, we're feeling nervous and we're feeling anxious or like we need this job. Like there's this pressure around it that we gotta take it. And I think all too often that when you're applying for a job and you're going through the process, that you forget that you're also interviewing the bosses and the people that you're going to be working for to make sure it's a good fit. I know from personal experience, like once again, the whole Me Too thing, I've been there. It's an anxious and stressful time. Like you're sitting there waiting to get called on to go into your interview. And then your interview, usually it's typically not just one, but two people, like a manager and general manager. And you're getting all to ask all these questions. And it's like pretty much the basic things like how would you handle certain situations or how would you handle this? But they're all generic things for their company. How many people who actually go to interviews ask the managers and ask the business owners questions too? Like, how often do you sit there and ask, well, what's the culture of your store? Like, what's it going to be like to work here? How often do you ask, what happened to the person I'm filling the position? Like, did they just quit? Like, was there a reason behind it? Like, you have to ask about that stuff too. You have to sit there and talk on a personal level with them. Because, once again, you're interviewing them as well. And I'm not saying sit there and get cocky about it. If you need a job, you need a job, yes. But being open and honest about everything. A lot of times people will sit there and be like, oh, well, I have kids, but I have a reliable babysitter. And then when the job gets either too difficult or it doesn't feel like they fit anymore or something comes up, they're quick to be like, I have no babysitter. Yes, things happen. It's life. But you also have to be 100% honest with your boss. And I think a lot of times in this society, we're so afraid of getting fired and not having work that we lie about sick days or we lie about things like that. And a lot of times, bosses, managers, hell, even other coworkers chalk it up to the fact that no one wants to work. And yeah, there's a case. There's a lot of people that just don't want to work or want to be quality workers. But what happens if you are one of those workers? And then you get overly stressed because you're putting in the time that anyone else isn't. So how do you handle the situations? Being open and honest 100% with your bosses and your coworkers is the best way to go. I'm not talking overshare, but as an example, the place I worked before that I just quit from was a great community. It was a great low culture, a great little store. I was a groomer. I had been grooming for over 10 years. And in the last, I'd say 5 to 6 years, I have worked with some great companies. I've worked for 3 companies in the last 6 years. And 2 of them were groom shops, and one was a craft antique mall. And these people have had the most impact on my life that anyone else has. And it's also attributed to the fact that I started asking the right questions and I started being honest. There was recently a family tragedy, and so I was dealing with that, a lot of personal issues that I was going through, and I straight up told my boss, I'm like, I'm going to need to take a week off. And yes, there was that initial fear that I'm like, okay, she can say no and fire me. She can just say no, and then I can come up with some dumbass excuse. But I didn't want to do that. Like, I don't want to sit there and put myself in a position like that. So I was open and honest. I'm like, I need a personal week. I need to take a mental health week, get myself back together. At this current time, I'm not able to perform the job to my best ability. And she was super honest and accommodating and was really concerned. And all that fear that I had, that stressful anxiety about even asking, it went away. Yes, I got lucky and it was a great boss. But you know what? If she hadn't said no, hadn't said yes, I would have quit sooner than I did. For the sheer fact that I don't want to work for a company that's not going to respect me, and the fact that I am being open and honest when situations like that occur. You have to realize and take basically insight to yourself if you're able to perform the job that is given. If you're not, be honest about it. And from there, you can find value. You'll be able to open new doorways, build a stronger relationship with your coworkers and your boss. You'll be able to find mentors. Being open and honest about what you're going through in life and what you need from your employer will help you become a better employee, and maybe later on, if you want to become a better employer. Have fun and find value in your 9 to 5. It's easier than you think.